Video, we're going to talk about the HiveMind interface and specifically how we mapped the controller to operate HiveMind and by extension Kodi. So if you come down here in the lower left corner, you'll see a question mark, and this is actually the help menu. So if you have questions or you want to watch some more videos or if you want to see the controller layout, it actually resides here inside of this particular menu. So you can see we have the buttons themselves and what they do listed out. The basic controls that you need are the D-pad, up, down, left, and right for navigation, A for select, and B for going back. These particular controls are used throughout the entire interface, right? These are global controls. We also have specific controls for specific sections of HiveMind. So if you're watching a full screen video, for example, now we have A as pause, B for stop, X for what's called the on-screen display, and Y for full screen. And then various other items that help control what the video is doing, right? Fast forward, language, scrubbing, titles, aspect, etc. We also have our keyboard controls. We created a new keyboard layout that works outside of Kodi, and we tried to make sure that the internal Kodi keyboard and that external keyboard worked in harmony. And so we mapped both keyboards to this same layout. So A is selecting, B is to go back, X is your backspace, Y is your spacebar. Then you have cancel, which when you're in a full screen application, that back button on a 360 controller actually closes the keyboard, which is quite useful when you're entering in a couple different text strings and a couple different text boxes. We have enter, which is the start button. We have cursor left and right, which is using the RBs. The analog triggers are not used for anything, nor is the Xbox logo in the middle, primarily because of some input issues with analog inputs, as well as the way Microsoft simply treats that Xbox logo on a Windows PC. We also built in clicks. So if you left click, if you down click on the left joystick or down click on the right joystick, what you're going to see is the keyboard will change to symbols or capitalization based upon that click. So you don't have to go back to shift or go back to symbols in order to get to those extra menus. Music. So very, very similar to playing a video, right? So A pause, B stops, X is the full screen. The triggers are your fast forwards, and your skip is the D-pad. I believe D-pad right and left, control skip. And then slideshows if you're viewing pictures, right? A is again pause, B is stop. We have a zoom, both a zoom normal, which basically returns to kind of the default aspect ratio, but then also the triggers zoom in and zoom out. This is our on-screen keyboard. As I said, we tried to map this as well as possible to the native Kodi one. We added in a few extra items, such as the ability to shift tab. So as you're entering text, if you pull those triggers, it'll shift tab. If you're in a browser, it'll shift tab between the browsers, things like that. And this is probably, at least in my opinion, one of the most important navigation items that we built. So if you have a browser up, like a Chrome or an IE, mapping the controller to that browser experience and getting things right is critical to actually being able to use that web browser in the living room. So A is left click, B is right click. X and Y go forward and backwards in your tabs. So if you have multiple tabs open, which you can open with start, if you have multiple tabs open, you can actually shift between them just by pressing X or Y. The left trigger, right trigger, and the left and right bumpers don't do anything in this particular instance. If you left click down on the left click, you get a shift tab. If you click down on the right tab, on the right joystick, you get a normal tab. And that's very important for when you are entering text into various fields in the system. Lastly, we built in a zoom and a website back and forward into the D-pad. So up and down, zoom in and zoom out, left and right, move basically backwards and forwards through the website that you've been interacting with. And we programmed in things for other controllers as well. So the DualShock 4 has built-in capabilities. Steam controller has built-in capabilities. And of course, once you cycle around, you get back to the Xbox. So let's see some of this in action. Because there's some pretty cool things that once you get used to the mapping that you can actually pull off when you're using HiveMind. So I'm going to go into programs because I think that this is the most interesting part of the context menu. So this is Chrome. If I press the X button on the 360, I get what's called the context menu. The context menu will also come up if you press square on a DualShock 4 or X on a Steam controller. This context menu gives me the option to do several different things with Chrome. So I can add it to my favorites. Go ahead and do that. We can actually edit the title. So if I think HiveMind Google Chrome Launcher is too long, I can actually, so I'm going to use my controller's shortcuts here. So I'm pressing X, so that's going to delete that. Now I need to go to the left side of Google Chrome, so I'm using the left bumper. And then I'm going to delete HiveMind there as well. So now it just says Google Chrome. And so to me, that's a great title. So I'm just going to hit Start, and it's done. And you see it changed the name of HiveMind Google Chrome Launcher to just Google Chrome. You can do the same thing with the icon, fan art, and really customize the look and feel of this to suit your particular needs. You can add this to the homepage add-ons menu. So that's complicated, right? At least it sounds complicated. But really all that is doing is putting it on my homepage. So if I go back to the homepage, and again, we're using the controller shortcut. So I hit the Start button, and that immediately just took me to the homepage. I could have pushed B 3 times and wound up there as well. So now, on my homepage, next to Games, I see Chrome, Google Chrome. I can have up to 5 additional shortcuts on this particular bar. So let's add a couple more here. Back to there. Steam, very common request. Again, I'm going to reduce down the name, and I'm doing this for a couple of different reasons. I like the way it looks better when it's shorter. It also fits better on the main menu bar when you kind of reduce down the text. So now I have it, it's just called Steam, and now add to slot number 2 because Chrome is occupying slot number 1. Again, all with the controller. I'm going to go back to the home by hitting Start. And now we can see Games, Chrome, Steam. And you can do this for 5 more items. Now, you might be saying, what if I don't like that? What if I want to remove it? Okay. Go back into All Launcher here, bring back up the context menu, and now we've actually shifted this from Add to actually saying Remove from Homepage Menu Add-ons. So clicking that, it removed it. I'm going to remove Chrome here as well. There is a place, though, that I might want these that is not the home menu, and that's actually a submenu that lives under Programs. So I'm going to add it right there. Now it's going to ask me the slot, so I say slot 1 for Chrome, add slot 2 for Steam. And now we have this extra menu below Programs. So if you're like me, you like easy access to a lot of different things, but you also want a cleaner looking uniform main menu bar, you can do that as well. So you can put these down below, and so when you select Programs, then they come up as an option. The other item that you can do if you're looking to do quick access is Favorites. So here we have the Chrome launcher, right? I added that to favorites at the beginning and middle part of the video here. One cool little item that we added in, if you right-click, it brings up favorites. So if you're here in Programs, All Launcher, you're in here, and you want to get to your favorites real quick, just right-click on that right joystick, and it comes right up. And you can hit B to close it. So kind of cool little shortcuts here and there throughout the interface, and it's all designed to help you use the controller to navigate quickly, right? To get to what you want in a expedient, fastest possible manner. So let's also talk a little bit about this part. So by default, your game menu is actually going to look like this, which is okay. It's a nice menu. But I actually like icons. So if you push left on the D-pad, that's what I'm trying to say. Push left on the D-pad, you get these view options. And this gives you things like filter, sort, and this really cool item here, which is called view. So right now it's in a list mode. If I cycle through with A, I can actually see two other options that weren't immediately apparent. And I put mine in thumbnail. I like this better. Because it basically matches that, right? So here's my games, and if I'm back in this menu, I see a similar tiled layout here as well. So really, really cool. Now, inside of here, it's a little bit different because this isn't the program launcher. The program launcher has more functionality that we built into it. The context menu here is a little more oriented towards the traditional Kodi experience. So you have add-on settings, you can go to the root of the drive, and you can also add it to favorites. That's really what this particular menu gives you in terms of context. So you can see the program launcher gives you more of those various options. So that is navigation. Again, I encourage you to look at this layout, these layout slides. You do have to you do have to click right twice in order to start cycling. That's simply a limitation of this particular menu, is when you're in layouts and you go right, it doesn't immediately move this. You have to move it twice. And then to get back into this section, you just hit up and down. Okay.